Somebody listening to me today has been carrying a wound that nobody else can see. You smiled through it, you prayed through it, but deep down you're still asking, why would someone hurt me like that? But I need you to hear me clearly today. Just because you were hurt does not mean you were forgotten. Just because someone mishandled your heart does not mean you lost your value. See, when a man hurts a chosen woman, he thinks he's breaking her. He thinks the pain will silence her voice, dim her light, and stop her purpose. But what he doesn't understand is this: chosen women are not destroyed by pain, they are revealed through it. Sometimes the betrayal, the rejection, the heartbreak is the very thing that pushes you into the woman you were always meant to become. Because when God puts a calling on a woman's life, no disappointment, no broken relationship, and no person's mistake has the power to cancel her destiny. So if you've ever been hurt, if you've ever been left wondering why your love wasn't honored, this message is for you. Today, we're talking about what really happens when a man hurts a chosen woman and why your pain might actually be the beginning of your transformation. Pain does not cancel a chosen woman's purpose, but many women begin to believe it does the moment they experience deep emotional wounds. When someone you trusted breaks your heart, dismisses your worth, or walks away from what you were trying to build together, it can feel like something inside you has been permanently damaged. You start questioning yourself. You wonder if you were too much or maybe not enough. You replay conversations in your mind, searching for the moment when everything went wrong. In those quiet moments, pain tries to convince you that your story has been ruined. It whispers that the dream you carried in your heart is no longer possible. But pain is a liar when it tells you that your purpose has been canceled. A chosen woman often walks through seasons that feel unfair, confusing, and deeply painful. Being chosen does not mean being protected from heartbreak. It does not mean every relationship will honor you, and it certainly does not mean every person will recognize your value. In fact, many chosen women experience intense rejection before they fully step into their calling. The very experiences that seem like setbacks are often shaping moments. They refine character, strengthen faith, and awaken a deeper understanding of identity. Pain becomes a classroom where resilience is learned and where a woman begins to realize that her worth was never dependent on someone else's ability to love her correctly. When someone hurts a chosen woman, the first instinct is often to shrink. She may begin to silence parts of herself that once felt vibrant and alive. The laughter becomes quieter. The confidence begins to fade. The dreams she once spoke about boldly are now kept hidden because she fears disappointment again. Pain can create walls that feel like protection, but those walls can also block the very purpose she was meant to live out. Yet even in those moments, purpose does not disappear. It may feel buried under grief, doubt, and disappointment, but it is still there waiting patiently for her to remember who she truly is. Purpose is not fragile. It is not something that breaks the moment someone mishandles your heart. A chosen woman's purpose is rooted deeper than a relationship, deeper than rejection, and deeper than the mistakes of other people. It was placed inside her long before anyone had the opportunity to hurt her. That means no betrayal has the authority to erase it. No broken promise has the power to remove it. People can walk away, misunderstand you, or even intentionally cause harm, but they cannot touch what was divinely placed within your life. There is something powerful that begins to happen when a woman realizes that pain cannot cancel her purpose. Instead of allowing the hurt to define her identity, she starts to see it as part of her preparation. The heartbreak that once made her feel weak slowly becomes a reminder of how strong she truly is. She starts noticing that even though she cried, she survived. Even though she felt broken, she still kept moving forward. Strength begins to grow in places where wounds once lived. Confidence begins to return, not because life suddenly became easy, but because she discovered that her spirit was stronger than the pain she experienced. Many women delay their destiny because they believe they must be completely healed before they can move forward. They wait until every scar disappears and every painful memory fades away. But purpose does not require perfection, it requires willingness. A chosen woman does not have to pretend the pain never happened. She does not have to erase her story in order to step into her calling. In fact, the experiences she once wished she could forget often become the very things that allow her to connect with, inspire, and uplift others. The pain that once tried to silence her eventually becomes part of the message that empowers someone else to keep going. When a woman understands this truth, something shifts inside her mindset. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? She begins asking, what can this teach me? Instead of seeing herself as a victim of circumstances, she begins to see herself as someone who is being shaped for something greater. The disappointment that once felt like the end of the road becomes a turning point. She begins rebuilding herself, piece by piece, with a deeper sense of awareness and strength than she had before. A chosen woman learns that her identity cannot be built on the approval of others. When approval becomes the foundation, rejection will always feel like destruction. But when identity is rooted in purpose, rejection simply becomes redirection. It may hurt, and the healing process may take time, but eventually she realizes that what left her life may have been the very thing standing in the way of her growth. Sometimes the removal of the wrong people creates space for the right opportunities to appear. Purpose has a way of calling a woman forward, even when she feels unqualified or discouraged. There will be days when she remembers the pain and wonders if she is truly strong enough to keep going. But purpose is persistent. It whispers reminders during quiet moments. It appears through small opportunities that encourage her to try again. It shows up in the lives she unexpectedly touches through her words, actions, and resilience. Slowly, she begins to see that her story did not end with heartbreak. Instead, it expanded. Pain may leave scars, but scars are not signs of defeat. They are reminders of survival. They prove that something tried to break you but did not succeed. For a chosen woman, those scars often become symbols of transformation. They remind her that she endured moments she once believed she could not survive. They remind her that even when her heart was hurting, her spirit remained unbroken. In the end, pain does not cancel a chosen woman's purpose because her purpose was never dependent on a perfect journey. It was always meant to unfold through growth, through challenges, and through the lessons learned along the way. The hurt may slow her down for a season, but it cannot stop the direction of her destiny. Eventually, she stands back up, stronger and wiser than before, realizing that what tried to break her actually helped reveal the strength she always carried within. And when she finally steps into the fullness of her purpose, she understands something powerful. The pain was never the end of her story. It was simply one chapter in the journey of becoming who she was always meant to be. Rejection can feel like one of the most painful experiences a person can go through, especially when it comes from someone you trusted, loved, or believed would walk beside you through life. When a chosen woman experiences rejection, it often cuts deeper than expected because she gave her heart sincerely. She invested time, loyalty, energy, and emotional vulnerability into something she believed had meaning. So when that connection breaks, when someone chooses to walk away or fails to recognize her value, it can feel like a personal failure. It can leave her questioning her worth and wondering if something about her was not enough. In those moments, rejection can feel final. It feels like a door slammed shut with no explanation. The silence that follows can be heavy, filled with unanswered questions. A chosen woman may replay memories over and over again, searching for clues. She wonders what she could have done differently, what she could have said better, or how she could have loved more perfectly. The mind begins to create narratives that slowly erode confidence. She might start believing that if someone she cared about could walk away so easily, maybe she truly was not worth staying for. But rejection is not always the ending it appears to be. Many times, rejection is actually a form of redirection. What feels like loss in one moment can later reveal itself as protection, guidance, or even preparation for something greater. The truth is that not everyone who enters your life is meant to remain in it. Some people are temporary connections who play a role for a season, but are not meant to walk with you into the next chapter of your journey. When they leave, it does not mean your value has diminished. It often means your path is shifting. A chosen woman often carries a purpose that requires growth, maturity, and clarity. Not every person who enters her life is prepared for that journey. Some people are comfortable with who she used to be, but they struggle when she begins to evolve. As she grows stronger, more self-aware, and more aligned with her purpose, certain relationships begin to feel strained. Sometimes the rejection she experiences is simply the result of two people moving in different directions. It is not always about one person being wrong and the other being right. Sometimes it is about alignment. At first, that misalignment can feel like abandonment. It can make a woman question whether her growth is pushing people away. She may wonder if becoming stronger or more focused on her calling is costing her relationships. But over time, she begins to see something important. The rejection that once felt like a painful loss actually created space in her life. It cleared out distractions, unhealthy patterns, and connections that were not helping her become who she was meant to be. Redirection often happens quietly. It rarely announces itself with clarity in the moment. When a relationship ends or someone walks away, the pain is usually too loud to hear anything else. But as time passes and emotions begin to settle, perspective starts to shift. A chosen woman may begin noticing things she could not see before. She may realize that the relationship she fought so hard to keep was limiting her growth. She may see that she was compromising parts of herself in order to maintain a connection that was never truly stable. Sometimes rejection redirects a woman back to herself. When she is no longer pouring energy into someone who could not reciprocate her commitment, she begins rediscovering the parts of herself she neglected. She reconnects with dreams she placed on hold. She finds time to pursue passions that once made her feel alive. The silence that once felt empty slowly becomes a space where clarity and strength begin to grow. Rejection can also redirect a chosen woman toward relationships that are healthier and more aligned with her future. When someone leaves, it can feel like a door closing forever. But life often reveals new doors that were previously hidden. These new connections may carry deeper understanding, stronger support, and genuine appreciation for who she truly is. What once felt like loss becomes an opportunity to experience relationships that honor her presence instead of taking it for granted. Another powerful aspect of redirection is the growth it produces internally. Rejection forces reflection. It encourages a woman to look inward and examine her boundaries, expectations, and emotional patterns. This reflection is not about blaming herself for what happened. Instead, it becomes a chance to grow wiser and stronger. She begins learning how to protect her peace, how to recognize healthy connections, and how to maintain her identity even within relationships. The woman who emerges after rejection is often different from the one who first experienced it. She becomes more aware of her worth. She learns that love should never require her to shrink, silence herself, or accept disrespect. She realizes that being chosen by the wrong person can lead her further away from her purpose, while being rejected by the wrong person can actually move her closer to it. This shift in understanding transforms the way she views rejection. Instead of seeing it purely as something that happened to her, she begins to see it as something that worked for her. It redirected her energy, her focus, and her path. The pain did not disappear overnight, but the meaning behind it changed. What once felt like evidence of failure now becomes part of her story of growth. A chosen woman eventually reaches a point where rejection no longer defines her self-worth. She understands that people's decisions are often reflections of their own limitations, fears, or readiness. Someone walking away does not erase the qualities that make her valuable. It does not remove her kindness, her intelligence, her strength, or her purpose. Those things remain intact regardless of who chooses to stay or leave. With time, she begins to walk forward with a renewed sense of direction. The rejection that once felt like a painful ending becomes a turning point that pushed her toward a better version of herself. She becomes more confident in trusting the journey of her life, even when certain chapters are difficult to understand in the moment. Rejection may close one path, but it often opens another that leads to deeper purpose, stronger identity, and healthier connections. What initially feels like something being taken away can actually be life guiding her somewhere she could not have reached otherwise. In the end, a chosen woman learns that rejection is not the opposite of destiny. Sometimes it is the very thing that leads her toward it. What felt like being pushed away was actually life gently steering her toward the place where she truly belongs. And when she finally arrives there, she realizes that the rejection she once feared was actually one of the most important redirections of her journey. Heartbreak has a way of shaking a person to their core. When a chosen woman experiences deep emotional pain, it often feels like the ground beneath her has shifted. The trust she once held feels fragile, and the confidence she once carried may begin to fade. The memories that once brought joy now bring questions, and the future she imagined suddenly feels uncertain. Heartbreak does not simply hurt the heart, it affects the mind, the spirit, and the way a person views themselves and the world around them. In those moments, it is easy to believe that heartbreak only brings destruction. It can feel like something precious has been taken away, leaving behind emptiness and confusion. A chosen woman may wonder how something that began with so much hope could end with so much pain. She may question whether she misread the situation or trusted too deeply. The emotional weight of those questions can be overwhelming, and for a time it may feel as though the pain has the final word. Yet heartbreak has a strange and powerful ability to reveal strength that would have otherwise remained hidden. Strength often lies quietly within a person until life creates circumstances that require it to rise. Before the heartbreak, a woman may not even realize how resilient she truly is. She may see herself as someone who simply loves deeply, trusts sincerely, and hopes for the best in people. But when the relationship ends or the trust is broken, something inside her begins a slow and quiet transformation. The first stage of that transformation is survival. In the beginning, strength shows up in small and simple ways. It appears when she gets out of bed, even though her heart feels heavy. It appears when she continues to handle responsibilities, even while carrying emotional pain. It appears when she chooses not to give up on life, even though part of her feels discouraged. These small acts may not look like strength from the outside, but they are powerful signs that resilience is already at work within her. As time passes, the strength within her begins to grow. What once felt impossible slowly becomes manageable. The emotions that once overwhelmed her begin to settle, and clarity starts to replace confusion. She begins to see that although the heartbreak hurt deeply, it did not destroy her identity. The qualities that made her valuable before the relationship still exist within her. Her compassion, her intelligence, her determination, and her spirit remain intact. Heartbreak also forces a chosen woman to look inward in ways she may never have done before. During the relationship, much of her focus may have been directed toward maintaining the connection and supporting the other person. But when that connection ends, the attention shifts back to herself. This moment of reflection becomes a powerful opportunity for growth. She begins to ask deeper questions about her values, her boundaries, and the type of life she truly wants to build. Through this process, she often discovers strengths she never realized she possessed. She learns how to stand on her own emotionally rather than relying on someone else for validation. She learns how to set boundaries that protect her peace. She learns how to recognize the difference between genuine love and temporary affection. Each lesson adds another layer of confidence and wisdom to her character. Another strength revealed through heartbreak is the ability to forgive. Forgiveness does not mean pretending the pain never happened. It does not mean excusing harmful behavior or ignoring the lessons learned. Instead, forgiveness becomes a way of freeing her heart from the weight of resentment. Carrying anger for long periods can drain emotional energy and keep a person trapped in the past. When a chosen woman learns to release that burden, she regains control over her own emotional well-being. The process of forgiveness is rarely immediate. It often unfolds gradually as healing takes place. But once she reaches that point, she realizes that the person who hurt her no longer has power over her peace. The situation that once caused sleepless nights and endless questions becomes a memory rather than a prison. This ability to move forward without bitterness is one of the most powerful strengths a person can develop. Heartbreak also reveals courage. It takes courage to love again after being hurt. It takes courage to remain open to new possibilities when past experiences created fear. A chosen woman may initially feel guarded and cautious, but as she continues to grow, she realizes that closing her heart completely would limit the life she wants to experience. Instead, she learns to approach relationships with wisdom rather than fear. The strength revealed through heartbreak is not just emotional, it also shapes a woman's purpose. The lessons she learns during difficult seasons often become tools that help her support others who are going through similar experiences. Her story becomes a source of empathy and understanding. When she speaks to someone who feels broken or rejected, she can offer encouragement that comes from genuine experience rather than theory. This ability to transform pain into purpose is one of the most remarkable outcomes of heartbreak. The situation that once felt like the end of her happiness becomes part of the foundation for something meaningful. She begins to realize that her story has value not because it was perfect, but because it shows resilience. Her journey proves that pain does not have to define a person's future. Over time, the woman who once felt shattered begins to recognize the strength that emerged from her healing process. She sees that the heartbreak forced her to grow in ways comfort never would have allowed. It challenged her to become more self-aware, more confident, and more aligned with the life she truly deserves. The tears she cried were not signs of weakness. They were part of a transformation that shaped her into a stronger version of herself. When she looks back at the experience from a place of healing, she may still acknowledge that it hurt deeply. But she also sees that it revealed qualities within her that she might never have discovered otherwise. Her resilience, courage, patience, and emotional strength were all strengthened during that difficult season. In the end, heartbreak does not only break a chosen woman's heart, it also reveals the strength of her spirit. It uncovers a resilience that cannot be easily shaken. It teaches her that even when life delivers painful experiences, she has the inner power to rise, rebuild, and continue moving forward. What once felt like the darkest chapter of her life becomes proof she is capable of overcoming challenges that once seemed impossible. And as she continues walking forward with that strength, she realizes that the heartbreak did not end her story. It helped reveal the powerful woman she was always capable of becoming. A chosen woman always rises stronger. But the journey to that strength is rarely simple or easy. When she first experiences betrayal, rejection, or heartbreak, the idea of rising can feel impossible. Pain has a way of draining energy, clouding hope, and making the future feel uncertain. In those moments, she may feel like everything that once gave her confidence has been shaken. The plans she made may no longer exist in the same way, and the person she trusted may no longer be part of her life. It is in that space of uncertainty where the process of rising quietly begins. At first, rising does not look powerful. It does not look like a dramatic moment of victory or a sudden transformation. Instead, it begins with small decisions. It begins with the decision to keep moving forward even when the heart feels heavy. It begins with choosing not to let pain define the rest of her life. A chosen woman may not realize it at the time, But every step she takes toward healing is already part of her rising. Pain often forces reflection, and reflection becomes one of the tools that helps a woman grow stronger. When the noise of the relationship fades and the distractions disappear, she begins to examine her life with greater clarity. She asks herself what she truly deserves, what kind of love she wants to experience, and what type of future she wants to build. These questions guide her toward a deeper understanding of herself. Through that understanding, she begins rebuilding her confidence and identity. Rising stronger also means learning from the past without allowing it to control the future. A chosen woman does not ignore the lessons that come from difficult experiences. Instead, she allows those lessons to shape her wisdom. She becomes more aware of the qualities she needs in relationships and the boundaries she must maintain to protect her peace. What once caused confusion now becomes a source of clarity. She no longer accepts behavior that diminishes her value because she understands her worth more clearly than before. As she grows, her perspective begins to change. The experience that once felt like pure loss slowly reveals hidden opportunities. The time she now has for herself becomes a chance to rediscover passions, dreams, and goals that may have been neglected. She starts investing energy into personal growth, learning new skills, strengthening her faith, and reconnecting with the parts of herself that once felt alive and inspired. This investment in herself becomes the foundation of her renewed strength. Another part of rising stronger is reclaiming confidence. Heartbreak can leave a person doubting their judgment and questioning their decisions. A chosen woman may initially feel hesitant to trust herself again, but as she continues to grow and reflect, she begins to realize that one painful experience does not define her ability to make wise choices. She learns to trust her instincts again, recognizing that the same intuition that once led her to love deeply can also guide her toward healthier relationships in the future. Strength also emerges through independence. When a relationship ends, it often requires a woman to rely on her own emotional resilience more than before. She begins discovering that she is capable of handling challenges on her own. Responsibilities that once felt overwhelming become manageable. Decisions that once required reassurance from others are now made with quiet confidence. This independence does not mean she stops valuing relationships. It simply means she understands that her stability and happiness are not dependent on someone else's presence. One of the most powerful aspects of rising stronger is the transformation of mindset. At the beginning of heartbreak, it is easy to see oneself as a victim of circumstances. But as healing progresses, that perspective begins to shift. A chosen woman starts to recognize that although she could not control what happened, she has complete control over how she responds to it. That realization changes everything. Instead of allowing the past to limit her future, she uses it as motivation to grow into someone wiser and stronger. Her strength also becomes visible to others. People around her may notice the change in her confidence, the calmness in her decisions, and the clarity in the way she carries herself. The same woman who once questioned her worth now walks with a deeper sense of self-respect. She understands that her value does not decrease because someone failed to appreciate it. This quiet confidence becomes part of her presence, influencing the way she approaches opportunities, relationships, and challenges. Rising stronger also prepares her for new beginnings. When she is no longer defined by past pain, she becomes open to possibilities that once felt out of reach. New relationships, new goals, and new experiences begin to appear in her life. Because she has grown through difficulty, she approaches these opportunities with greater awareness and maturity. She knows how to recognize genuine respect, how to communicate her needs clearly, and how to maintain her identity while building meaningful connections. Another important part of rising stronger is the ability to inspire others. When a chosen woman overcomes heartbreak and grows through adversity, her story becomes a source of encouragement for people around her. Others who are experiencing similar struggles may see her resilience and realize that healing is possible. Her strength becomes a reminder that pain does not have to define a person's future. This influence does not require grand gestures or public recognition. Often it happens through simple conversations, shared experiences, or moments of empathy. The wisdom she gained through her own challenges allows her to offer understanding and encouragement to others who feel lost or discouraged. In this way, her rising not only transforms her own life, but also touches the lives of those around her. Eventually, a chosen woman reaches a point where she can look back at her past with a different perspective. The experiences that once felt like the end of her happiness are now seen as moments that shaped her growth. She may still remember the pain, but it no longer controls her emotions or her direction in life. Instead, it serves as a reminder of how far she has come. Her strength is no longer something she questions. It becomes part of her identity. She understands that she has the ability to rebuild, adapt, and continue moving forward regardless of the challenges she faces. This understanding creates a sense of peace and confidence that cannot easily be shaken. In the end, a chosen woman always rises stronger because her spirit is built to grow through adversity. The setbacks she experiences are not the end of her journey. They are moments that refine her character, deepen her wisdom, and strengthen her determination. What once tried to break her becomes the very thing that reveals her resilience. And when she finally stands in the fullness of that strength, she realizes something powerful. The pain that once made her feel powerless actually played a role in shaping the confident, resilient, and purposeful woman she has become. Rising stronger was never just about overcoming heartbreak. It was about discovering the strength that had always been within her.